We are two NPCs in the world of animation and gaming talking about the chaos of the industry. Whether you're here for the pixels, the drama, or just along for the ride, welcome to Pixelated 8. Let's press start.
Hello. Welcome to this week's podcast.
Hello. Uh, so what happened? This long break and we doesn't seem to have the same name anymore.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. What do you mean? This is always the name we had. I don't know what you're talking about. It's not like a
uh,
rebranding or anything. And the fact that
Yeah,
a
I
lot of
was
people had
worried.
this.
People are like, listening to our previous podcast would be like,
Mhm.
"Hey, what are they doing? Like this logo does not match whatever they're
Yeah.
saying in there."
Logo was always there. I don't know what's up. No. No, it's true. It's true.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
we did change our name.
yeah.
And
So,
if you want to mention why,
no,
yeah.
TLDR, it was taken and we didn't
Yes.
know. So always do your research, I guess.
Yes.
But it was actually funny because
Hmm.
you know how our previous title was supposed to be Pixel Pushers, right?
Hmm.
I kind of mentioned it to my brother, and he's like, "What does that mean?" So I don't know. Maybe a lot of people don't even get the reference because
Well, not a lot of people do drugs anymore, so that's why.
okay,
Yeah.
that's true too. You know,
Yeah.
actually, yeah, in our industry, before you always hear people talk about those crazy parties that involves the drugs.
It's true. Pill pushers. Yep.
Yep.
Actually, I'm gonna say it. I heard stories about cocaine. I heard
Y-
stories about
Yep.
there were stories about SIGGRAPH where
Yes.
this was way before before I even joined the industry.
Yep.
But there were stories of party rooms,
Mm.
and there used to be table of just amount of cocaine basically.
Oh my God.
And they used to. I know I'm gonna go a little graphic. I apologize, but they
Yeah.
also had women strippers come
Oh,
into these
beep.
parties. It was wild back then.
That's what I heard too. Like
Yeah,
all these crazy parties where people just getting very not
yeah,
sober,
yeah.
and it's just like partying it up. I think that's
Don't say it. Don't say make SIGGRAPH great again.
no.
All right.
But I think that's also
Yeah.
why when I kind of came into this industry, even
Mhm.
in school, yes, in school when we used to start school, there was just this whole big culture about like all the events were just held at bars
Yeah,
and
yeah,
people would
yeah.
like just drink, and that would be the big thing.
Yes.
It's like because at the time when I came in, it was just whatever I do with my friends would be like movies and bubble tea and
Yeah.
everything. I'm not a big drinker,
Hmm.
but like just this whole environment of like in the animation classes, all the events, people were just drinking like in the
Yeah.
bars, and it's such a weird thing to me.
It's true, actually. Actually, even the industry in general, though, I noticed when I started, there was a lot of, like you said, bars. And actually, I know, again, these were rumors. Someone told me this. There's a few people that were doing cocaine.
Hmm.
And they were doing it to get, people do it to focus and hyper focus on stuff. And I knew a few people. And, you know, once they told me that these
Yeah.
people were doing it, I was just like, oh, that actually is starting to make sense
When you see them at work, they're like either
Correct.
high or something,
You
or
could see they
people.
were very wiry, like very
Yeah.
energetic, like super energetic, but throughout the whole day,
Yeah.
and it's interesting actually. Partially you mentioned your brother,
Yeah.
and going to the Gen Z, they actually have a legit. Um, they actually don't do drugs or alcohol, which I
Mm.
found out. It's dropped quite a lot amongst
Yeah.
that age group.
Oh, I heard about that.
Yeah. Hmm.
Like the piece of news as well. They're saying a lot of them don't do it anymore,
Yeah.
and it's interesting because I think you're being there when my brother was raised, because I'm a lot older than him,
Hmm.
but like he was also raised like not really drinking or anything, so like he really didn't touch alcohol much because our
Yeah.
entire family doesn't drink. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just become a
Yeah.
habit.
Hmm.
It's like, oh yeah, you prefer Coke.
Yeah. Coke?
Coca-Cola.
Oh, okay, okay. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
I'm like, your entire family is like,
No, no,
whoa.
no, no, no. Coca-Cola.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
That escalated quickly. Yeah, we're not drinkers or anything, but
No,
Coke,
no.
yes. Yeah.
But I guess like,
Mhm.
does work actually have that much pressure that people need to do that? Is the other question.
I think there was a level of well, there's two things. For some people, just to keep like hyper focused,
Mm,
uh, and secondly, I think it was a very normal thing in the industry at the time. It was
that's
it
true.
was a bygone. It was the ending of that, like we were talking about SIGGRAPH.
Yeah.
We joined the industry just as this stuff was ending. Like it
Mm-hmm.
was it was it was it was not cool to do this anymore,
Yeah.
right? So it was done in secret, right?
That's true.
Before we joined, it was out in the open.
Mm,
But after we joined, it started becoming more secretive.
mm.
And I think later on, obviously now, I don't think anybody really does it.
Well,
That I know of. You
it's
know,
illegal.
it is illegal, but people still, they still find it.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that's why the drug trade is still making money.
Do you think it's actually
Yeah,
as bad before though? Like, say for example, there's a lot of stress with like people having to do overtime and that.
I
I mean,
think.
classical animation would be pretty, I guess, stressful because there's so
Yeah,
much to draw.
there's so much to do. Yeah, yeah. I think there's potentially studios that are still going through that. I wouldn't be surprised.
Mm,
Maybe, but I haven't seen it or heard of anything since then.
mm-hmm.
Like even in when we were in Vancouver, I didn't hear any stories like that. I actually heard the opposite,
Mm,
where again all the parties were calmed down. There was no more like crazy parties anymore.
yeah,
But there were more like almost family oriented parties. Like
yeah,
you can bring your
plus
significant other, you
ones.
can bring
Yep.
your families. So party culture changed like that. It was more family oriented, and I think it was more healthier for the industry. I guess the industry was at one point was more associated with Hollywood,
Yeah, that's true.
and so it was cool. It was the cool factor,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
this whole like, oh yeah, parties and
You get
drugs.
those Great Gatsby type of parties, right?
Exactly, exactly. So I think those kind of party culture kind of continues into Canada as well.
Mm,
And
yeah.
then now eventually it's changed here. It's also changed in the U.S. Now Hollywood though, it's
Mm.
still like that from what I understand.
Oh, well, Hollywood
you
is
know.
like a whole other. Let's
Yes,
say it's like other animals and their craziness.
it's true. Actually, I a few interviews I've heard from like people who've gone through or comedians who've gone through like the whole like they've done one movie or something,
Mm,
and they've explained how you end up in this like weird bubble
yeah.
where you almost feel invincible and
Mm,
that you are the greatest thing on earth.
yeah.
And that bubble is essentially Hollywood. And you're treated as with such royalty, sorry,
Yeah.
that you forget being humble about things. You forget where you came from and all this kind of stuff.
That's very true.
Yeah.
And I mean, our animation industry is kind of closely tied to the film industry as well,
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
actually doing the movies. And there would be times where we do see some famous directors or work with them
Yeah.
even. And sometimes you do see that.
Yeah. That bubble. Yeah, yeah, it's true. You're not allowed to talk to them. You're not allowed to look at them. It's like it's crazy.
Yeah. Or like just when they come
Yeah.
and visit the studio, it's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, let's
Yeah.
all go there and like take a look at
That's
it.
true. And
Yeah.
actually, you bring up something I totally forgot about this, but we in the industry we do have something similar, a small bubble I would call it,
Mm.
which is the we call them was it superstars? Not superstars. What's the term we do?
Snowflakes?
Not snowflakes. What's that? Where the person's really good, so you fully cater them. You make sure they get everything they need. I guess superstars. You could call them superstars. No,
Yeah.
they're not superstars though. They are like why am I forgetting the name?
Unicorns?
And not unicorns either, because unicorns and superstars are people who can do multiple tasks. They're generalists.
Right.
right? So you can actually go to one of those kind of people, be like, hey, I'm having technical issues with this thing. Can you help me, or can you guide me in the right direction? And they'll be able to support you. What
Mm.
I'm talking about is people who are only good at one discipline, who are so good that they're willing to they get worshipped at the studio. Which then what ends up happening is then you go, okay, we need a full department to support them.
Oh, I totally get what you mean. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And there was a term for those kind of people. I'm just forgetting the term.
I
But it
don't
was in
think you
that
can
vein.
use that term though because it's specific to one.
No, no, that was specific to that one. Another studio we worked at, that term was used there. And because we had a few of those kind of people, and I said, hey, why are we having to clean up after this person? Can't they just make sure they check in the file correctly with the correct naming convention?
Mm.
And I was told quite a few times, no, they can't, and you have to do it for them. And I'm just like, what? I'm just like, are they that good? And
That they
they'd be like,
can't
yeah,
even
look,
spend time to
yeah,
do
exactly.
cleanup.
They can't spend 5 minutes to clean up and name it correctly. And I would look at the work. Yeah, they were very good, but I'm sorry to say this, but I could find 10, 20, 30 people online who are as good or even better.
Yeah, it's
You know what I mean?
I don't like that kind of treatment because I think I've
Yeah.
said this before and you probably heard me talk about this a dozen times.
Hmm.
To me, if you're in a job, doing a job, there's a
Yeah.
minimum requirement. If
Yes.
you can't even do that minimum requirement, then don't just don't come here. Like just
Yeah.
don't, right?
Yeah.
If
I
you
totally
have a
agree.
deliverable and
Hmm.
you need to deliver A and B and C, then no, you cannot just deliver B and be like, oh yeah, I did great on in B, so I don't need to do A and C. No, 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 no. Your minimum requirement is to deliver all three. So
Yeah.
deliver it. You
Yeah.
gotta clean up your file, then clean up your file. You get to send it to the
Exactly.
next department to make sure it works, then make sure it works and send it to the next department.
Yeah.
Like, why are you here doing half your job and having other people clean up after you? Are you gonna pay part of your salary to the other people? No.
Yeah.
So yeah, you don't like I don't get that kind of treatment and I totally don't agree with it.
Yeah. Exactly. And it still to this day it still happens. I'll be honest with
Yeah,
you. I've
that's
seen
true.
it still.
You see sometimes
Yeah.
like yeah.
Yeah. And it's really frustrating because now you need to now you can't you literally need a department to support, wipe, whatever you want to say.
Yeah, to clean up after them,
Clean up
basically.
after that. Yep, yep. And this kind of goes. I'm gonna talk about this. I think it's an important aspect related to this. I remember I used to be the a supervisor of at a studio of the layout department. And every time they had these kind of directors come in and they did studio tours, they would actually skip me. And what I noticed, this was from my perspective.
Mm,
I was the only minority
mm.
at the studio who was a supervisor.
Okay.
And what I noticed was they used to go to this one guy who was Caucasian, and they would
Mm,
only do a show and tell or like do the tour with that one person for layout.
mm,
And I was fairly new at the job, and no, actually no, it was about a year in, two
mm-hmm.
years in, and no, I wasn't fairly new. What am I saying? Anyways, I knew, but deep down, I didn't want to stir the pot
Yeah.
because one thing about being a minority in any industry is unfortunately, or being the youngest in the industry is the same thing in my opinion.
Mm,
You get you're under a microscope all the time,
mm,
right? If you say the wrong thing, you say do something wrong, they are ready to pounce on you,
mm.
right? Oh, how dare you. And that's why it was very shocking that I was like, I'm the supervisor of the layout department, and they're not willing to even show me. Like I understood, yeah, sure, I'm a minority, and I do have a little bit of an accent, as you can hear. But it still felt very odd, you
Mm.
know, and didn't feel good at all. And I was just like, okay. And as one of the reasons, actually, I said, you know what? Because they treated this department as such like a prestigious department,
Yeah.
and it's an important department, but it's they treated it with such prestige. I was like, you know what? I'm not interested in because there were so many egos in that department. I'll be
Yeah.
honest with you. I felt like I was not interested in supervising or supervising the level of egos in that department.
Hmm.
It was just not, it was just not that interesting to me, especially since we're doing television work here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why do you have an ego for television work? You know, we are all in the same boat. We're all trying to make a 20-minute cartoon for kids to enjoy.
Yeah.
Like, you're not gonna win an Oscar for this, so
Yeah.
don't worry about it. But no, you had it. You had egos. You had weird levels of, I'm gonna call it racism. You know, and uh, it was a bit frustrating in that aspect.
Mm.
And this kind of brings us into a couple of topics we want to talk about today. Is when you're frustrated at the workplace,
Mm.
to have some form of an exit strategy,
Yeah.
and at the same time as realizing exactly what your workplace is built around, how it's structured. And one of the key things of understanding a company is when it goes into crunch mode,
Oh, yeah.
right?
You only see true colors when you put people under pressure, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's when
Exactly.
you kind of see how people actually are. Like, there could be people who are nice usually, but then,
Mm-hmm.
like, just give them a little bit of stress and, like, they pounce on everyone around them.
I was going to ask you, what do you recall one of your first times you saw a production go into panic mode, and how was that experience, and what did you realize?
Well, I think panic mode, usually what happens when panic mode comes in is that they'll be like, everyone just wants everything done immediately. And
Mm-hmm.
then if stuff doesn't get done with like their allotted time, which is like usually when they don't have that much time, then they start the blame game, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I would have other departments down the pipe coming and yell at us for like stuff not done. But like
Or
for
like
every little
being a
mistake
bottleneck
too.
kind of thing.
Yeah, being bottleneck, and
Yeah.
there's also like small things too, stuff that they couldn't find. They're like, hey, this shot is not working. Like, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do A B C D E? And when I look at it, I'm like, no, no, no. I think everything we did is fine. I'm pretty
Mm-hmm.
sure we double check it. And I will double check it, and there's no problem with my workflow. And then like 10 minutes later, they come back to me. It's like, oh yeah, it's because I forgot this. So yeah, there was no problem. But like just before that
Yeah.
though, they raised hell. They even went to like their lead and stuff, saying, oh, we got this broken thing from this department, and it's like, you really, really don't need to do that.
And correct me, they would private message you when they discovered it was their problem,
Yes, of course,
right?
yeah, because
Yeah.
they would raise hell in like
Mm-hmm.
the public chats with everyone, saying, oh yeah, I got this thing, it's broken and blah blah blah. And then after they found out it was wrong, it will be a private message saying, oh yeah, everything is fine now. Like, and me, I'll be just like rolling my eyes, like, and that's one thing I found out when I came into this industry is that most people, when they find something wrong, they immediately want to shift the blame or find it being someone else's fault,
Mm-hmm.
even though the first thing that they should do should be double checking their own work. And a lot of people
Yeah.
don't do that. But like, I know that you and me we're the people who do that. Like, when something's wrong, we immediately go double check our own work. But I
Yeah.
think a lot of people just immediately point fingers.
And I think, I don't know if this is a maybe a cultural thing, because both of us didn't grow up in Canada. We came from
Mm.
uh, Asia, East Asia, or
Yeah.
Asia in general, right?
Yeah.
And when we came here, I was always taught to like own up,
Yeah.
figure it out, get help when you need it,
Yeah.
work as a team. All these fairly fundamental societal kind of building blocks.
Yeah.
I was very surprised when I joined the industry that everybody was a dog eat dog.
Mm.
Like, it was instant competition.
Mm-hmm.
And even in university, I found it was much more collaborative. Like,
Yeah.
I had people I used to go and even just going to party with, and people would be like, "Hey man, it's so great you're coming out. I know you don't drink, but it's awesome you come out with us every time."
Mm.
And it felt really good because it was like a party thing. But then
Mm-hmm.
when I joined the industry, and if I didn't feel like coming out because I don't drink, I used to hear stories like, "Oh, if people don't come out and drink with you, I don't trust them. If they're not drinking, I don't trust you. This is the kind of verbiage that some people were using
That
with
is
me.
so weird.
It
Yeah.
was very weird, and I realized, oh, it was a way to make sure I was dismissed as a person,
Yeah, it's like, what does
right?
my soberness have to do with you?
Exactly, exactly. And that's why, if you ever noticed, I kind of indirectly made a stance of like, you know what, I'm not interested in going out if this is how they're gonna
Yeah.
treat people at this place.
Mm.
Oh, sorry, some of the people were gonna treat other people, you know.
Yeah.
And it was just a handful of people like this.
I'm
And
not actually
yeah.
that
Hmm.
surprised though, like in
Hmm.
terms of workplace, because I've always been told that, like, given my Asian background, like most Asian workplace in
Hmm.
Asia is like cutthroat, basically.
Yeah.
You get stabbed in the
Oh, I
back
see.
at
Really?
any
Oh,
time you
wow.
want, or
Okay,
like,
okay.
if you don't
Yeah.
stay enough time for OT, like you have to leave
Yeah.
after your boss leaves. You can't leave before they leave.
Oh, no.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's like
Yeah.
some of my cousins when they first went into the job, that's what they
Yeah.
went through. Like she tries to leave on time and they're like, "No, no,
Hmm.
no, your boss hasn't left. Why are you leaving?" And she's like, "What?" Cuz it's
That's
funny because
crazy.
she spent part of her childhood here in
Hmm.
school
Yeah.
and then she went back to Hong Kong and looked for a job, and when she got into the job, it was just like, "Oh man, this is crazy." Like they
Yeah.
won't let you leave. You're not supposed to leave. It's just unspoken rule that you're not supposed to leave before them. And
That's wild.
yeah, there's like
Yeah.
all those crazy stories about
Hmm.
people backstabbing you or like pushing the blame. It's like so it's a common occurrence there, which is so
Yeah.
weird. But like I don't know, like you said, right? If you're in this kind of industry, you're making a game for people, which
I
you're
know.
supposed to have fun.
Yeah.
You're making a kids show, which is
Yeah.
also supposed to be fun. Like, why are people like
Exactly.
this, right? It
I
doesn't
mean,
make
one of the
sense.
reasons I joined was because every time I used to watch those behind the scenes footage, it was always a group of people working together to make it work.
Yeah,
And it always excited me, whether it was like Disney behind the scenes or even ILM making all those animatronics. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Jim Henson, you know.
yeah,
I'm like, this is how the industry is. I want to join it. This is going to be amazing. And I
yeah,
joined it. I'm like, what is this?
yeah. And you know what? Like, it's at those times where you actually truly appreciate the people who are chill all the time.
Yes.
Remember the person, one of the people we work with was
Yeah.
always chill.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
just so chill, even
Yep.
at like panic mode and everyone's panicking. Like
It
just
makes a big
talking to him makes
difference.
you calm.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
makes such a big difference. And actually, the panic mode thing I've always noticed is always the people who yell the loudest are the
Mhm.
ones who are causing all the issues,
Yeah.
right? And we briefly mentioned this. It's like you look at even in recent situations. It's like I've always seen, and I'm gonna pick on a few departments here. It's like you look at production, for example.
Mm.
I always find it like
They
they
panic
always
the most.
complain.
They
They
panic
panic
the
the
most.
most, and then they complain about it,
Yeah.
and they keep panicking, and they start the blame. They're the ones who start the blame game.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, when everything is sorted, they always pretend like, oh my God, this was amazing. Everything just worked out. I don't understand why or how, it just worked out.
Yeah.
And then I always want to say, it's like the fact that you don't know how it worked out, maybe you are the problem,
Yeah.
right? It's like,
This I totally agree. Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. And this also tells you the culture of the studio. If, for example, when things go into panic mode, and let's say you are giving your 120 or 130%,
Mhm.
and this happened to us,
Mhm.
and they decide to still come at you and
Mm.
book a full 1 hour meeting and yell at you for no reason and do the full blame game. I'm talking about full blame
Yeah.
game just on you and your few colleagues that you're working with, trying to make sure the ship isn't sinking,
Yeah.
right?
I would
That,
murder them.
yeah. Yeah, exactly,
No,
exactly.
it's just
Yeah,
people are so quick to blame things
yeah,
on other people and they don't look at stuff in the big picture, right?
yeah,
And it's like if you're actually putting in 120%, which I say like if it's in crunch time, that's usually what I do.
Yeah, exactly. I'll stay late. I'll organize. I'll play the production role. I'll play any role you would need me just to make sure.
And we've been saying this, right? If stuff is not done, we need to tell people preemptively that
Hmm.
hey, this time is short. We might not get this done. So, like, if everything like this is done this way, then you still get yelled at. Then that just means like something's wrong with management. It's like you didn't give enough time
Exactly.
for people to finish their stuff, so you cannot get mad at them for not finishing it, right?
Yeah,
It
exactly.
doesn't make sense. And I mean, it's not always bad. Like, I know you picked on production, but I have met
Hmm.
good production people who are also
It's true,
chill
actually.
during
It's true.
panic moment.
Actually, you're 100% right. Good production people, chill production people. Oh my God, it's like
Yeah.
you can be in crazy panic, but
Yeah.
you'll finish everything way ahead of schedule because of chill production.
Yeah, cuz the
Yeah.
way they actually make you do things or they help you get priorities done would be
Hmm.
would just make it a lot smoother. And
Yeah.
also they would be the ones who's like getting rid of all the side noises so you can
Noise.
just go
Yes.
work, like
Yeah.
go just straight to do your thing, which is
Yeah.
so much more helpful than like people who are like, "Oh my god, we need to put everyone on OT and blah 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 blah
Yeah.
blah." It's yeah.
I had one production person actually tell me this, and it was amazing.
Hmm.
She literally went to me, and I'm like, "Oh, do you need any help or anything like that?" She goes, "No, I'm here to support you,
Mm.
and I want to make sure you are doing your work and
Mhm.
you're not bogged down with all this communication stuff and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm here for you to make sure that's running as smooth as possible. So you
Yeah.
tell me what you need." I'm like, "Oh my God,
That
thank you."
sounds amazing. Yeah.
It was. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's also production, also like, they have the job to wrangle some people, right? As well. So when they actually do it properly, then you don't create additional work for the team.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think if I was going to ask you, is like, what do you think of like when we've seen the situation when we see bad production mixed with bad management?
Mm.
It's like a nightmare scenario.
I mean, they kind of go hand in hand, It's
They
just
go hand in hand, but the worst is because it's like the classic, like, who's in charge of production? It's like, oh, it's management. It's like, okay, then if you complain about production, oh no, you have to go through production to complain about production to management.
yeah,
It's
no,
like,
that news never
what?
goes anywhere, right? So,
That news never goes anywhere.
yeah.
So you're constantly in the cycle of bad production.
Yeah, bad
Yeah.
management.
Bad management, exactly.
Yeah.
And like you said, they go hand in hand because by the time it reaches management, production is saint and you're the cause of all the problems.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
sometimes if they're, I don't know how all studios handle the
Hmm.
hierarchy, but especially when you're under production and they are in charge of like managing you in general, it's just
Hmm.
that if they don't know what you do and
Yeah.
they don't have a good grasp on like deadlines and stuff, and they didn't schedule you enough time to do things, and
Yeah.
they say that's your fault, I mean,
Yeah.
there's not really anywhere you can go up to like say, "Hey, it's not my fault."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
It's
crazy.
true. Actually, you remind me of a funny story, actually, because when I was supervising you guys, I was also in charge of deciding how long things take.
Mm,
And I used to talk to the finance department because they were in charge of like figuring out, okay,
yeah,
this many shots is for value is this much X dollars and
yeah,
blah 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 all that stuff. And I'm like, hey, so a couple of shows we had to bid. So I'm like, yeah, it takes about maybe 4 shots a week if you want full character effects, simulation, character filing, like proper, fully approved. About a week,
mm,
I would say. That was my estimate. So like a shot a day,
mm,
essentially 4 to 5 shots.
mm.
And they were like, wait a second, you were doing like 2 shots a day on this other project.
Yeah,
I'm like, the other project was a preschool project.
yeah,
I'm like, it does not compare.
yeah,
Was there any cloth and simulation on it? Sure, we did very minimal, but it didn't take that long, right? So
yeah,
you could do 2 to 3 shots a day, no problem. But with a little bit more high-end
mm,
projects, yeah, sure, it'll take it'll take a day per shot, and that's me being conservative,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was very surprising to see. And the reason I bring that up is because production will give these numbers, and I will verify them later, as you can see when I start talking to finance. But
Yeah.
production will give these numbers
They'll chop
initially,
it.
and they'll chop it. They'll fake the numbers, and I'm just like, you didn't know, but then why did you give these numbers to finance?
Yeah.
I will give the proper numbers to finance, and
Yeah.
finance was always like, what? I'm just like, oh,
But it's so funny
you
because
know,
some of them are
yeah,
like clueless enough to like I know the like constantly occurring problem for animation would be like
yeah.
you animate a shot with just a close up and then you have
Hmm.
someone animating a crowd shot and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, it's the same time." It's like, "No, it's not the same time," right?
Exactly. Oh my God, you're right. It's like here's 5 characters in the shot, and here's 1 character's shot. Oh yeah, you guys, you bid 1 day for each.
Yeah,
It's like what?
exactly. And it's like, no, 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 that's not how it happens. It's the
Yeah,
same with character effects as well.
yeah,
You have to simulate the hair for one person. It's different from simulating hair for like
yeah.
5 person in that other shot.
Exactly. Yeah. So going back to panic mode, crunch mode. So I was gonna ask you as well. So other than like what you saw, like what's the best way to define this? What's the best way to like kind of like get out of those kind of situations? Do you think? Like, what do you think?
I don't know. Like I could be my jaded self. It's just
Hmm.
during this kind of panic mode, you usually see a lot of bad things and a lot of bad people and a lot of bad decisions. My only, I guess, what do you call this? I mean, the only thing you can really do is to
Hmm.
one, make sure you have like everything noted down to
That's
protect your
true.
ass,
Record
basically.
everything.
Right? It's
Yeah,
like if
yeah.
you have stuff in conversations, like make sure instead of just talking to the person in agreement, make sure you type it out. Just
Hmm.
because you don't want people to start pointing fingers. So anything that, decisions or like issues or problems, make sure it's actually written down just so that people know and you can actually, in the worst case possible, it'll be
Hmm.
evidence basically.
Yeah,
And it's so weird to talk about this because this is like not a crime show or anything, but in this industry sometimes you just have to do this kind of thing,
yeah,
just so to not get the blame, because there are people who would just push the blame on you randomly,
yeah.
even if you're a very good person, it happens.
It's true, actually.
Yeah.
Actually, I know this sounds very snarky on my end. Very snarky. I know it's horrible. I should not do this. But I make a mental note of all the people who burn me or
Death
who
Note.
throw me under
No,
the
no,
bus.
just kidding.
No, no, not that.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
no, no. But I do a mental note,
yeah.
and I kind of decide, okay, these kind of people, these few
Mm.
people or individuals,
Yep.
only they are not there to work as a team. They're not interested. So the minute panic mode
Mm.
happens, they become into survival mode, and they need to keep their jobs. So
Yeah,
what they
yeah.
do is they need to blame it on other people so
Mm-hmm.
that they look good.
Yeah,
And I've seen a lot of people get away with a lot because
yeah.
of this. And they've been very successful people too, I've noticed.
Mm-hmm.
They've successfully diverted the attention onto others, and those other people have been fired.
Yeah.
And if you ever notice, that's why I think when I was supervising you guys, I kind of created a wall. Basically, I
Mm.
made sure no one had any right to blame you guys.
Mm.
And I always said, if there's any issues, you come to me first, and I'll go talk to my artists.
Yeah.
And what that did was it forced these kind of individuals to never start the blame game, because that would mean they never came to me. Because
Yeah.
if they came to me and I fixed the issue, then there's no one to blame,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So it stopped any of that kind of mentality to even fester during crunch time,
Yeah.
especially on my team. And I was very proud of that aspect.
Yeah.
So one thing I think I've noticed nowadays is like if because I'm back to like artist level,
Mm.
I've noticed really bad leads and managers,
Yeah.
like who do not protect their teams at all, who let them burn, who let other people blame them, and then they join in the blaming.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah. Well, that's
You know?
when you
Yeah.
actually have those departments where it only thrives on competition and there's like
Yes.
not that much teamwork.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a nasty department,
But,
actually.
just
Yeah.
like crunch time is probably brings out the worst in people.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's why you always have to kind of protect yourself
Yeah.
with any conversation you have. Always keep receipts if that's the way to put it. Yeah.
Actually, it's funny. I've got in trouble for again at an artist level, not at super. I've got in trouble for treating my colleagues as teammates.
Mm?
I've been told like, how dare you swap shots or how dare you help each other out? You're
Oh,
assigned a work and
yeah.
you have to do your work and only your work. And I'm just like, hold on. If I'm fast and I finish all my work and my colleague, sure, they spend a little extra time, but they might have shots with 5 or 10 characters.
Yeah.
It's taking them longer to finish their tasks.
Mm.
Why don't I help them out so that we don't get into crunch time?
Yeah, no, that's the same thing. I do
Yeah,
the same thing now
yeah,
because if I see that, hey, we're split work, but obviously sometimes it's not split perfectly in half, right?
exactly,
If I finish early, I'll help out the other person to finish it.
exactly.
So
Yeah,
the task is finished. Like, why would you be like doing nothing while you see them like just kind of dying on the side trying to finish
yeah,
stuff? And then at the end, if they don't make the deadline, then your department looks bad. So, you help them out,
exactly, exactly.
right?
And I think again, going back to the crunch mode thing, the panic mode thing at the same time, it's like if you don't do that, like you said, your team doesn't end up. Then your team becomes a bottleneck,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Then that one individual in your team that happens to not finish all the tasks, maybe they had hard shots, maybe there were some software issues, who knows? It could be anything.
mm,
And the blame game starts ending upon them,
mm,
right?
yeah,
And once that, I'm going to call it, once that stink gets on the person, it's very difficult to get rid of,
yeah.
right? And this goes into our second topic a little bit, which is the exit strategy. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
always be prepared to leave.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, you could be let
Yeah,
go, you could be fired any
correct.
day with like just I know sometimes it might not even be your fault, so
Yep,
it's good to have one.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
With the exit strategy, it's like, and what I mean is this: you don't have to have a job lined up, right? And I think you've kind of, we worked together over the years, so we kind of know
Mm,
a lot of this.
yeah.
Is every December during the Christmas holidays, update your demo reel, update your resume,
Yeah.
keep them updated, update your LinkedIn, have
Mm-hmm.
everything updated at all times.
Yeah.
So this way, the minute anything happens or you feel like you need to get out,
Mm-hmm.
you can just submit your stuff to places,
Yeah, that's true.
send them out, and it's 10 times faster and easier to do that than waiting till a situation that you get fired
Yeah.
or something happens and now you have to now put your demo reel together
Yeah.
and you're losing days, you're losing time.
Yeah.
Let's say that the studio shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's true because sometimes you won't know like
Mm-hmm.
I mean over the past few months our industry's been kind of shaky as well, right?
Very
Um
shaky.
I mean, yeah, if
Mm-hmm.
it's not just you getting fired, right? It could be just a command from higher up or like, the head
Yeah.
studio just saying, "Hey, let's chop this." And then they
Yeah.
chop it and then you're gone.
Yeah.
Like you don't have a job anymore. Then it's like if you have everything ready, you could just submit it immediately.
Yeah.
That would be a lot faster than you having to hack together a demo reel like right
Mm-hmm.
after and like look for footages and everything. It's just yeah, always make sure you're prepared, I would say.
What do you think, like, of our industry right now? Like you mentioned it briefly. How bad is the situation? Would you consider?
I
Right.
don't know. It's quite shaky. And
Yeah.
it's all due to I think because of COVID, everyone
Mm-hmm.
was kind of in a bubble of
Yeah.
like, you know, because during COVID everyone was forced to stay home, most people.
Yeah.
you got this very false sense of like, hey, everything's growing. You know, a lot more people are playing games. A lot more people
Yeah.
like. I think they were saying internet usage went up like 300% or something like that.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot more people using the internet playing games, right? But
Mm-hmm.
now it's after COVID, and it's like that number will drop because people are able to go outside again. They're able to go on trips again.
Yeah.
And that said, and also, I mean, stuff happening around the globe, uh, and stuff is hard to like. It's that's hard to talk about, especially politics. We won't
Yeah.
really talk about it here, but like it's just difficult situation for a lot of people. Then it comes into
Yeah.
okay, what you're spending on for money, right? Are you would there be more
Yeah.
people watching movies anymore, or would there
Mm-hmm.
be people buying games anymore? They're just like everyone's more careful with what they're spending now.
Actually, that's true. Actually, I forgot about that aspect.
Yeah,
Uh,
that
Recession and all that kind of stuff. Talk.
exactly the
Yeah.
recession. So like I wouldn't
Yeah.
say it's it's not like super horrible yet, but I would say
Yeah.
it's probably going to be down a little bit because
Yeah.
I don't I honestly don't think movies are doing well right now, and I also don't
Mm-hmm.
think games are like it's not that games aren't doing well, it's just that the players are a lot smarter about what they're choosing to play. And
It's true,
you can't
actually.
just
Yeah.
randomly make a game and be like, "Hey, yeah, it's going to make it." Just people are a lot more
Yeah.
critical. And you can't fault people on that just because uh they have a lot more choices now, so they have a lot more
Mm-hmm.
opinions. That's what I think.
Actually, I would add both to that same category, movies and TV as well. It's like
Yeah.
I just give up on a TV show if I feel like it's not interesting
Yeah,
because there's so many others.
exactly.
Movies, I think very rarely. I used to go once a week to the movies.
Yeah,
Now I go maybe once a year, even
right.
maybe twice.
Yeah, there's just not that many movies that's like
Yeah,
that makes me want to go see it in the theater anymore.
exactly.
And like I mean
So
honestly,
so expensive, so
yeah,
expensive.
exactly. And
Yeah.
like I mean, you know, I've been on a trip recently and I was
Hmm.
on the plane and there were like those recent movies and I watched them, but there wasn't that many I wanted to see either.
Yeah,
And a lot of
yeah,
them I watched, but like I'll be like, "Hey, I'll watch it on the plane, but if you're going to ask me if I'm going to spend money to buy it and
yeah.
watch it at theater, no."
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that you're 100% right. Our industry in general, it's so rocky right now. Actually, I would almost say is any studio, any company is going to hit hard times. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how successful they are.
Yeah.
It's going to happen,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah.
And like for things like games, it's just that
Hmm.
yeah, there's so many other games coming out now, and you don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe people don't even have time playing games, console games,
Yeah.
and everything.
And also, like you said, I really feel this. I think money is a huge aspect
Yeah,
because
no,
I'm so careful now.
yeah. It's like if a
You know,
70, 80, $90 game, it better
yeah.
be good, right?
Oh, exactly, exactly. And even just recently, it's like you sent me the trailer to that Silent Hill game,
Mm,
Silent Hill J. It looks amazing.
F, yeah,
F,
yeah,
sorry, F. And that's one of the things. It's like, you know what? That looks really good right now. Once the gameplay trailer comes out, and Silent Hill has known to make good, like those games have been good, like good
mm,
quality,
mm,
and it could be one of the games that I might be willing to spend money on,
yeah,
you know. And that's the thing. Like when the time comes to buy it, I'm gonna really assess. Even though it looks amazing,
yeah,
I'm still gonna assess whether do I have the funds right now,
yeah,
and
exactly.
is it worth spending the $80 for that game or not? That's
Because
gonna be a big one. Yeah,
yeah, because it's nowadays the trailer doesn't sell you the game anymore. Like it doesn't immediately
no,
sell you the game anymore.
yeah,
And for a lot of people, since there are so many coming out, there's
yeah,
choices.
yeah,
So what's to say that hey, I'm not in a rush to play this. Let's wait for the
yeah,
sales to come on.
exactly,
And like to be
exactly.
honest, a lot of people wait for sales.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, even right now, I'm like, oh, I want to play this game, but it's on sale for $20.
Yeah.
I'm like, nah, I'll wait till it's $5,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And because again, there's so much entertainment. There's so
Yeah.
much entertainment for you to do, and that's a big factor. I mean, there's the recession part, there's
Yep.
the economy part. Those are big factors.
Yep.
And then there's obviously, because of those two factors, people don't want to spend their money
No. Yeah.
on things. And we're talking about that we don't want to spend it.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
we work in the industry.
Yeah. It's like I'm a big fan of
Hmm.
Final Fantasy, right?
Yeah.
But like I just refuse to buy a PS5. I just wait
Yeah.
until the games
Yeah.
come on Steam. And it's like,
Yeah.
hey, if it's on sale, good. I'll buy it when it's on
Yeah.
sale on Steam.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, yeah, it's just nothing's a big rush anymore. And
No.
people don't have disposable income for like just getting everything immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And going back to the studio structure, like if you're in a, as we like to call it, whether it's a toxic relationship or abusive relationship at the studio that you're
Yeah.
currently working on,
Mm.
and it's sad to say in some cases you have to stick it out.
Yeah.
you know I know it's can be exhausting, and I remember, so for one full year mentally,
Mm.
I was so exhausted at the last place I was at,
Mm.
because I just had to bite my tongue and just keep my head down and
Mm-hmm.
just do my job,
Yeah.
and I just made sure my resume was out there. I just kept applying and applying and applying.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually something caught, and I
Yeah.
was very happy something did catch. But uh, it's sad, but in situations like this that our industry is in, it's almost better if you can just to focus on your job, focus on your task, build yourself, like, I mean, learn,
Yeah.
learn, develop. Whether it can be anything. It could be like, oh, I want to start learning Excel. I
Mm-hmm.
want to master Excel. I want to do Python. I want to master, just do it.
Yeah.
But don't, even though it's a toxic environment, just put your head down.
Yeah.
Don't get into fights. Don't get into like
Yeah.
struggles, because at the end of the day, you know the outcome.
Yeah.
You know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because as we've discussed, 99% of the time, the people who bring up issues are the ones who get blamed.
That
You
unfortunately
see,
that's the case. And I
you
know
know.
this is actually a very hard thing for
Hmm.
say Gen Zs to do. I don't even know if
Yeah.
I got the name right, but like
Yeah.
I've been told by like when I was talking to some of the younger people in the workplace is that they're like, well, I see something wrong, I want to correct it. And it's so weird that nobody wants to solve this thing when it's
Hmm.
like so messy. And it's like they're trying,
Yeah.
but also it's really hard for them to understand that just people aren't dedicated to making it better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
It sucks. It sucks, but that's kind of what you're dealing with. So it's like if you want to keep your job, then you kind of cannot be the problem.
That's very true. Don't give them any ammunition
Yeah,
so that you're the problem.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at
Yeah.
any other like better times
Hmm.
financially when things are not so shaky, the industry is not so shaky, I would have been like, you know what? Like just yeah, in that case, prepare your resume, apply elsewhere. If
Yeah.
this is not the
Leave.
place for you, then
Hmm.
you shouldn't be here. But if there's really no
Exactly.
choice, then you really have no choice either, right?
Yeah. Actually, in our current vicinity, we actually only have maybe two options.
Mm.
That's it. And unless we want to leave to another country, even.
But
But
even that is
again,
really hard now.
that's huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's hard for a lot of people,
Hmm.
and it's not like viable, right? For a
Yeah.
lot of country, they might not even want to hire externally anymore. It's just because, like you said, I think almost every place is kind of bad times, basically, financially.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's going through a lot of rough, and you're 100% right. It's everywhere. I know some countries right now, it feels like they're fine, but they're not. Every country, every place is
yeah,
hurting right now.
yeah. It's like under, like behind the doors, it could be. It's just
Yeah.
not that stable. Um,
Actually, this just occurred to me. We might be seeing a world recession.
yeah,
Never seen that before.
which
Wow.
is crazy to think about, but it's like
Yeah.
yeah, it's quite scary. I mean, that kind
Yeah.
of also circles back to the thing, right? We've kind of dipped into this in our earlier podcast. Have side gigs, side jobs. If there's anything else that you can do or you have time to actually work on, make sure you
Mm-hmm.
do that.
Yeah.
If you're good at creating tutorials, create some tutorials. Put it out there. See if you can actually earn with that.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, and we're getting close to the conclusion of our this week's podcast. I just wanted to say, like, the takeaways I would say right now for what we're discussing right now is, yes, we're going to be seeing a lot of hard time
Mm,
coming,
mm,
right?
yeah.
Second, we're also going to see some major shifts in the industry,
Yes.
where whether studios might shut down certain locations and then rebuild smaller locations,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So be prepared, educate yourself,
Yeah.
focus on yourself.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you can do.
Yes.
And I think, you know, advice for anybody that's entering the industry,
Mm.
this is going to sound weird, but focus on tangible jobs, even
Yeah.
meaning side jobs.
Yeah. Not very
I'm
abstract. Because
yeah, yeah.
regardless of what people think,
Hmm.
this kind of industry is still just an entertainment industry.
Yeah,
So it's like if things get really tough, then
yeah,
what do you cut out? Entertainment,
yeah.
right?
Exactly. That's the first thing to go in people's lives.
Yeah.
Is they'll cut their cord, they'll cut Netflix, they'll remove it all
Yeah.
if they need to, even decrease their internet packages, you name it,
Mm.
right? And you know, and jobs like whether it's plumbing, electrical, and woodworking. These jobs are physical. They're physical jobs
Mm-hmm.
that do pay. You know,
Yeah.
and I myself personally, because I'm trying to save money too, everybody is, I've actually started I've been doing this forever, but I watched YouTube videos. I learned from my dad, teaching me about electrical work, teaching me about woodworking, all this stuff. So any household stuff that I can do, I do.
Mm.
Right, only when it needs to be really specialized is, okay, I need someone to come in to
Yeah.
take care of, like, the furnace or something. Yeah, okay, I'll call someone, right? But if I can handle 90% of the stuff myself just by learning, and in some cases maybe I should get a certificate in electrical work and start
Mm-hmm.
doing that.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of stuff, it's never going to go away.
Yeah. For sure.
We always need people who can do those
Mm-hmm.
tasks. And I would say, if you want a side hustle that's forever in time, those are the kind of side hustles.
Mm-hmm.
Even artwork, even if you sell those are great, but if people can't afford it, no one's going to buy it.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
Hmm. I forgot what type of job criteria that's called. It's
I mean, it's like necessities,
yeah,
right? If you
necessities,
know how to
exactly.
make food, if you know how to bake
Yep,
or something, you might want to look into
exactly.
something like that. Um, at least
Yeah,
you can
that
feed
reminds me.
yourself, right? So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yes, exactly. Feed yourself. Ingredients is very important.
Mm.
Figure out exactly what you're eating and sustaining. Sorry, this is slightly a side project. This is like a exclamation. Everybody, please stop the high processed foods. If you can. Just stop.
No,
Just
no,
stop.
I agree. I agree. Health is
There's too much
important.
research out there now
Yep.
that's just showing so much horrible stuff about high process.
Yeah.
I mean, am I guilty of eating a chocolate bar now and then? Yes.
Yes.
But if you can get rid of 80% of your highly processed foods,
Yeah.
I'm talking about meats, I'm talking about
Yeah.
breakfast cereals, you name it.
Yep.
Just get rid of them. Try to go as natural and homemade as possible.
Yep.
Sorry, little slight.
No, it's important. Health is important. I mean, we're just
Yeah.
lucky that, being Canadians, we
Yeah.
actually have like a healthcare system that actually takes bulk of
Yeah.
the funds. But like if you're somewhere else and you get
Hmm.
sick and you have to pay for it, it's actually quite pricey as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true actually. And again, we mentioned this before too, and just to add it again in this one, save your money,
Mm.
save as much as you
Yep.
can. I think that was the main bulk of our topic.
Yeah.
I
For
think we
today,
wanted to talk about
I think we've gone
for
through
today.
everything.
That's a wrap. Thanks for tuning in to Pixelated, eh? Hope you walked away with something new. Don't forget to follow. Until next time,
keep it in play, and power up for what's next.